Welcome to the Women Talk Construction Show with Christy Powell and myself. How are you doing today, Christy?
Good, good. Excited about today.
I know. We have another guest on from the UK. How exciting is that? We're
Yes.
international now. And this
Woohoo!
is so cool that we get to share all these stories across the world because, we all deal with opportunities and challenges all over, right? The same way. In fact,
Mhm.
I just saw on Instagram an F1 driver. Um, she actually made a quote that sounded exactly like somebody or a woman in construction would say. I can't remember what it is, but I'll have to find it. But we are so excited about the lineup today, and especially our next guest. Of course, we're talking about topics about construction, workforce development, and leadership. And today, our guest has written a book, and it is an awesome book. In fact, she's just created the audio version as well. It's called Building Women and How Everyone in Construction Can Win. And that's exactly what Christy and I always talk about. It's about all of us, not just one of us or not just a group of people. It's about everyone. So, welcome, Faye Allen, to Women Talk Construction. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank
Welcome.
you for having me.
Faye, why don't you share with our audience a little bit about yourself, where you work, how you've gotten to the point to where you wanted to write your own book?
Well, I'll go back to being a little girl. So my dad worked in the industry as an estimator. So I sort of grew up around the building yard that he worked in. We used to sort of drive out as a family on a Sunday delivering tenders, because you've got your deadlines. And when I couldn't sort of finish my A levels and decide what I wanted to do, he was like, right, out you come with me, took me on some really cool jobs, and I kind of got the bug for it. So I did an apprenticeship to train to become a quantity surveyor in the
Mm,
UK. And I did that for 20 years with various contractors, working on all sorts of different jobs, from sort of religious buildings and historic buildings to offices and schools and hospitals. And then the last sort of 12 years, I moved into consulting, and I work on disputes in the industry because, as we know, there's
mm,
always disputes.
mhm. Yep.
Which means it's quite varied. I can't get bored. And I work with sort of engineers, structural engineers, architects, all sorts of specialists, lawyers, clients, developers. And it's just been really, really interesting. As for the book, it it sort of it was like a seed in my head, I think, for a very long time, because obviously I've been in the industry for 32 years. So it has been a tough journey at times. I think that's probably the only way to
Mhm.
put it. And I think I was talking in 2020 to some other young women. I was on a panel at London Build, and I realised they were having some of the same issues that I'd had sort of nearly 30 years ago. And I kind of thought, I've got to stop this. And I sort of went on the mission of writing the book, which was originally going to be just about women. But then the more research I did, the more I realised that the culture is actually quite toxic for men as
Mhm.
well. In the
Mhm.
UK, we've got suicide statistics that are 4 times the national average for men in the industry. And that's where the Everyone in Construction Can Win came from, because I just thought it can't just be about women, it has to be about everyone. And the only
Yes.
way that we're going to do anything to make the culture better is to get everyone working together.
Your story is so similar to why Angela and I started the podcast, actually. That's
Mhm.
very cool. I didn't realize that's what your why was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I grew up in construction too. So it's interesting how a lot of people, if they don't grow up around it, they just don't know how great it is, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we'll kick us off with the first question, and it is about your book. So, what inspired you to write the book? You kind of shared a little bit about that, but what message were you most passionate about sharing through it? And I know you have several because actually, I have a little, you talk about, let me get to my notes, barriers and lived experiences, allyship and private aware and privileged awareness. Allyship's important. Inclusive culture benefits everyone. Concrete steps for change and retention and recruitment challenges. That's just a few notes I kind of took from it. But share with us, what were you most passionate about through this book?
I think for me, a lot of it is about the retention of women in the industry, because I'm also on the Global Steering Committee for the Equal Representation for Experts Pledge, because obviously I do dispute work and I'm a quantum expert. And the reason that we don't have many women is because they all fell back there when, you know, we've got this leaky pipeline that I refer to in the book. And that's in all countries, because I have people from America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, various places in the UAE, all responded to the questionnaire, or I've spoken to them during the research, and everyone has the same problem. And the dropout appears to be, from UK research, in people's late 40s. So it's not when you think it is, it's not when they've had babies, it's literally where it's just got so tough because it's a constant battle that women are having to do all the time. So I suppose that was like my main focus. But then what I realized, and you touched on it then, Angela, is that allyship and having men help us is actually what's really important to making the culture change. And the only way you can get men involved is to tell them what the experiences are that women are dealing with, so that they understand it at a grassroots level. And once they do, 99.9% of men are absolutely horrified, and they're like, what can I do
Yes.
to make it better? And that's where the journey on the allyship section came from. I wanted to give men some really clear examples of what allyship is, what you can do. And every man who's read it has been like, wow, this has really helped me, because I know I can actually go out and I can do something immediately to make a difference.
I love
Awesome.
it.
So what did anything surprise you in your research? I think, I did a ton of research when I first got into the women's side of things. I worked in the field for 26 years, estimating, project management, and in material sales. And when I took the role handling women-owned business for a large supply company, I got to meet a lot of women in this space, and there were so many things that surprised me. So I'd love to know, like, was there anything as you're doing your research for your book that really surprised you?
I'd love to say it was a surprise. It was more of a horrifying sort of
Mm,
confirmation of what I knew. I think it was the statistic that 3 in 10 of the women I'd spoken to had been sexually assaulted at work. That really
mm,
upset me. And obviously that, I think it was 67% of them had been bullied at work. So for me, that was when I sort of really got on the, okay, this is an actual cultural issue as well, particularly with the bullying side of things. And yeah, I think they're the probably two statistics that stuck with me the most, because they're the two that I think really do cause the retention issues for women, because
Mm-hmm.
women who've reported the bullying are often not taken seriously, or they're told they're too sensitive, or, oh, it's just banter. We all hear that one, don't we? And actually, no, people need to take on board that actually what was a joke 30 years ago, it was still hurting women back then, but actually it really isn't acceptable now. And you just need to sort of take a step back and think about how it affects other people. And I think that's sort of been the missing link. I
mm,
just don't think anyone had really gone, here's some experiences in women's own words, and actually put it in a book. Obviously, it's like the crazy thing of getting a loan out so you can publish a book, because I knew no one was going to pay me to write it, but I
yeah.
also knew it was the only way that actually the industry is going to realize what's going on, because everything gets swept under the carpet. You know,
Hmm.
women get put on compromise agreements and NDAs when they've come back after having kids. That's a massive one over here. And it's
Yeah.
like, why is that
Mm-hmm.
still happening? You know, we complain that we want more women in the industry, but then we don't make it safe
Mm-hmm.
for them, or we kick them out once they've had a family. It's just ridiculous.
Well, you really hit on it earlier, something that Angela and I speak about on our TEDx is the bullying isn't just women. Women are just willing to stand up and talk about it.
Yeah,
The bullying is happening to everybody
Mm-hmm.
in the industry. It's not just the women; it is the men too.
yeah,
Men just what we're finding and the research that we've done, they just be quiet. They're just
yeah,
quiet and they deal with it, or they turn around and do the same, and then don't feel like they are themselves anymore because they're trying to fit in. And this has been a challenge, I think, as far as surprises go. It's been a challenge for me. Just open eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Just understanding how the construction industry works, and it's not just in the field because
No,
of
no,
these
it's in offices
deadlines.
as well. Yeah,
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 because of the deadlines, because of the pressure, because of the stress, because of the financial strains there are on projects, it happens all across the board, in the field and in the office. So just wanted to share that.
Oh no, I agree. And it's funny, I spoke to a number of men during the research for the book, and some of the things that happen to them are absolutely horrific. And I think that's why, for me, it became cultural, that it's really important we change the culture, because it's just toxic for everyone.
Yeah. And it's the same in the UK, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're telling us today is
It's everywhere.
we're not just siloed here in the United States. It is a global problem, or a global culture shift
Yeah.
that we need to make.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what happens is, when you're in a predominantly male industry, which it still is, unfortunately, that's why it's so compounded. It's almost worse because it is a predominantly male industry. And then when you add on, I don't know what it's like in America, but you've got the ridiculous program period. You've got clients who don't understand the money, and they squeeze every last penny out, and that goes all the way down the supply chain to the last man on the trowel.
It's the
And then we
same.
wonder why, we wonder why people's mental health suffers. I remember as a kid, my dad not being paid, and I think we ate egg and chips for like 2 months, 3 months, because we just had no money. It was like, what was the cheapest thing to do? And we still do that to people because we don't pay them on time, or we cut their payments just for no reason, or someone up the line's cut our payment and we think that's okay to do it to others. I mean, it's a really awful culture to have. And I think if we improved all of those things, mental health would improve for everybody.
Yeah, and as I think talking about it more is going to help. Just
Yeah.
to bring awareness. And I do feel like Angela and I talked about this recently. Actually, been talking about it a lot the last week. It's really important for us to be able to discuss, the challenges and the wins we have. We're out there trying to get more people to enter the workforce, but we're not preparing them for what they're going to see
Yes.
or hear when they get there. And that has to be something that we take a look at, right? We're only showing them the pretty things. You can make a lot of money. You can, you can be creative. And I think it's really important for us. And that's all true, right? All those pretty things are all true. But if we don't start educating the people that are coming in, they may not be able to mentally do that particular job or be in that role. I don't get affected like a lot of my friends do. Like, things don't bother me. I just, that's how I grew up, right? Things don't bother me. They go over my head a lot of times.
They bother me. I'm different.
But a lot of people are not like that, men or women, right? Like, I can deal with something. I can hear something that probably wasn't nice, and I move on. It's just how I am. But the more research I've done, most people are not like that. So we need to prepare people for what they're going to have to endure, or not necessarily endure, but when you're a nurse, you're prepared that you're going to see a lot of blood, right? It's not pretty. But you're prepared. Like, that you're going to see a lot of blood, right? We need to be preparing people for the blood they're going to see in all the professions where, we don't see a lot of young people wanting to enter and a lot of diverse people wanting to enter.
Well, now you did mention earlier about allyship, and we talked about that. So can you share with our audience, how would you define allyship, and why does it matter so much in today's workforce? We would love to hear what you have to say around that.
I think the reason I touched on allyship, and it did start as a light touch, and it obviously ended up as a whole section in the book, because it's like, the more I researched it, the more I was like, actually, this is really, really important. And the one thing that I always say to men, and it's funny, I was on a panel, it was about men in allyship and what held them back. And I think the one thing that holds most men back is fear, because they don't know exactly what it is. They don't know what's going to happen if they make a mistake. And there's that fear of, am I going to have my head bitten off by women because I'm trying something and I've done something wrong? So what I say to any man who asks the question is, first of all, allyship's an active role. It's not an inactive role. It means you have to do something. And there are various ways you can do it. There's various different types of allyship, but they're all an active role. So that's probably the first thing, is you are going to have to do something. because allyship isn't just standing in the background and being quiet. You know, we've all had the friend who goes, oh, that was really awful what happened to you after the event. That's not allyship. Allyship is doing something when it happens. So one of the examples I always use is if you're in a meeting and there's like one woman at the table and she keeps getting interrupted, just stopping and going, hold on a minute, Faye's the expert in this, give her a moment and let her finish what she's got to say. Or if she's quiet and not saying anything, hold on a minute, Marie's the expert in this, let's hear what she's got to say. So it's just opening the door, and it doesn't have to be an aggressive thing. It doesn't have to be something that's going to cause an argument. There's some really simple tools that men can use to actually help women and sponsor women. I think that's the other part. Allyship can also involve sponsoring them, and that means doing things when women aren't in the room. So one of the examples I use is my partner recently was at an event. He works in security, so another predominantly male sector. No women on the course, and the course leader was making comments about women's anatomy, and he was really uncomfortable about it, and he came home and he was like, oh, I'm really not comfy. And I said, well, you know exactly what to do about it, because we've been talking about this for the last while I've been writing the book. I was like, you need to go in and speak to him. And that's what he did. And he took a copy of my book, funnily enough, which the bloke has read and subsequently come back and gave a really good review about. But it was like he went in and told him why that was wrong, even though it was just men in the room. And then what happened was the course leader reflected on that. He then came in and apologized to everybody on that course for his behavior, and actually said that he would never do that again moving forward. So that is allyship and sponsorship. It's not even when women are in the room, but you still have to do it. There's going to have been, particularly in construction, loads of times where men have been just with other men and they hear something really derogatory about a woman or someone's wife or girlfriend, and they just keep quiet. And that's the problem, and that's why we sort of perpetuate the behavior, because when men around are just being quiet, other men think that's okay. Oh, well, that's all right then. Maybe it's just me who felt uncomfortable. Whereas if you actually go, do you know what, mate, that's a little bit, you know, really disrespectful. I don't really like the way you've said that. It then brings into other people's awareness that firstly, it's not okay. And also it makes them think next time, you know, should I be saying that? And things won't change if people don't speak out. That's the problem. So
Yep.
I feel like, you know, a lot of the women that I interviewed for the book, we all know men are going to make mistakes. And you know what? Not one woman I've spoken to has an issue with that, as long as the intention is good. So if you go into it with a really good intention to do the right thing and to try and make things better, no one's going to have a go at you. But equally, I say to women, it also involves you being allies to men, because sometimes they're going to get a hard time and you need to stick
Yes,
up for them just as much as they need to stick up for us.
agree.
Yep.
I agree 100%. So what's one thing that each of us, no matter what our role is or our background, can do to help create real and lasting change, other than obviously have a conversation, right? Have a kind conversation about how you feel or what your perspective is.
I think a big part of it is really listening,
Mm-hmm.
because I think we've got a real problem in the industry where people just haven't traditionally been listened to, because there's not time. It's all time, isn't it?
Right,
Got to get it done.
right.
But
In
when
a
you
hurry.
stop and listen to those stories, whether it's from men or women or anybody, you know, whether it's somebody who's, you know, got another type of diversity, because we had some recent research in the UK that shows that a lot of people in construction are neurodiverse. So it obviously attracts that sort of person, often because they are more creative and innovative. So that was done by the National Federation of Builders. I can send you the details for that afterwards.
Yeah.
Um,
Please.
Please
and
do.
I found that really interesting, because, you know, we know that neurodiversity, it isn't a bad thing, but people do not understand it in a lot of ways. But when you start to actually encourage everybody in with any sort of diversity, you get happier people, better profit, more innovation,
Yes,
you know, things
yes.
will just get better. We will do things better and people will be happier. Why would we not want that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, I wanted to mention too, Faye, that I first met your group during COVID, and you probably were on that call on Clubhouse. And
Yeah.
that's where I heard y'all's stories, and I just listened because they related everything to what we go through in America. So it just really impressed me upon that, and I wanted to make sure we got y'all on as well. But what else would you like to tell our audience about I don't know, your book, because it really is incredible, and especially the fact that you made it an audio version as well, so that we can
Yes.
also listen to it in America, and we're definitely gonna tell our
Well, you
audience.
can get it on Amazon in America. I can't send it there anymore
Oh,
because the
can
tariffs
we?
have just got a bit ridiculous. So I was
Oh,
able to send
wow.
it
That's
earlier in
too
the
bad.
year, but yeah, no, so you can get it on Amazon over there. So if
Actually, I
anyone wants to
will.
get a
Okay.
hard copy. So it looks like this. You can't miss it on Amazon. And even my own copy's got all my tags in it. It's funny because I obviously recorded the audio bit last week over 2 days. So they're just editing it now. And
Mhm.
what I found really interesting was just sort of me telling those stories of other women. It really brought back to me, I suppose, the amount that had gone into it. It's not like I can't remember that I've spent like 4.5 years sort of researching and
Yeah.
writing a book, but when you read it all out and you've got a director in front of you, it was a really interesting process. But I think the thing that I found really important when I was writing it, and the thing that I would say to anybody, is it's not just about construction. There's people from outside the industry
Mhm.
that I've had involved. So we've got like the first female fast jet fighter pilot in the RAF in the UK, Mandy Hickson. You've probably
Oh.
heard of her. So I read her book and then stalked her on LinkedIn, and I was like, I need to talk to you. And as you do, and she's in my book, along with the first Asian fast jet pilot, Diraj Bastion, I think I say his name correctly. So he's got an MBE. He's amazing. I've got like an ex-football player, ex-rugby player.
Ah.
There's all sorts of different people from different industries. I think I've got a sort of chief inspector from the police. I've got an ex-firefighter, because we can learn so much from each other. And I think
Mhm.
that's really what, when I talk about culture, yes, it's really toxic in the
Mhm.
industry, and it is what I would describe as sick, but I do think it's fixable. And I think we can
Mhm.
take things from other industries and other sectors, and we
Mhm.
can do so much with it. And a lot of it really is remembering that it's a people industry. Without
Mm.
humans,
Yeah.
construction is nothing.
Yes.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah. People
Thank you.
make.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go.
I was
You go.
going to say, we 20 minutes has flown by,
Oh, I know.
so I apologize. We need to wrap it up today. Faye, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your passion for change. And our listeners, if you want to get a hold of Faye, will you let our listeners know how to get a hold of you? Obviously, you've already shared with us how to get your book, how to get your hands on your book. And we're just really excited that, every time we meet somebody that's willing to speak up and
Mm.
make a change in any industry, we feel like it's such a huge impact on our world, right? Speaking up, being able to write a book, being able to do a podcast,
Mhm.
having TEDx. We've met a number of women who are very good, and we're just really happy that you were able to just take your perspectives and your research and put it into a book
Mm.
where people can really read it and know what to do next. And we thank you for that. Kudos to you, and thank you for the book. And I'm really looking forward to hearing it on audio. I don't do well reading. When I sit down, I fall asleep. So being able to listen to it on audio while I'm traveling is going to be perfect. But thank you again for your expertise and your time today.
No, thank you so much for having me. And if anyone wants me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, DM me
Yeah.
on there, or websites fayeallen.co.uk. Nice and easy.
And you can find your book on Amazon, right?
Amazon,
In
yeah,
America.
yeah.
Okay.
And then
All
if
right.
there's anyone outside of America, you can order it from me through the website as well.
Oh,
Awesome.
perfect. All right. And we'll have all those links on our website for everyone.
Yes. Thank you again for being with us today,
Thank
Faye.
you.
Good
Thank
luck.
you
And if
for
there's
having me.
anything we can do to help you get this book pushed out and just help you to amplify your voice, we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.